Well, today we're going down to the west side of the Seneca River to see the three arches, and I'm going to use the Montezuma Heritage Park map here just to show you where we're going. You know, we're down here at the kiosk, and we're going to cross Route 31 bridge over the Seneca River, and the next left there's a gravel road, and it'll take you right down along the river. There's a pretty good, driveway there, I'd say, access road. And drive right down to the other side of the river, the Seneca River, on the where the aqueduct is. You can park your car here, and we're going to be right over in this area here, seeing these three arches. They're high and dry today, so the river is fairly well backed up here, but you can see they're high and dry. They're quite accessible. And then we're going to take a look at the towpath crossing, the slackwater crossing. So if you another video we made, we walked down here and we saw the piers here in the water, the post, and that towpath bridge extended all the way across here. And so we're going to look down in this little cove here to see if there's any of the anything remaining there. So let's get on with it. Well, we made our way over to the west bank of the Seneca River, and the remaining three arches from the Seneca River are Montezuma or Van Richmond Aqueduct, whatever name you want to call it. Remarkably intact for not having any compression on this side. It's just a feat. Maybe it's those trees right there holding up everything that's not allowing it to collapse. It's hard to say. Just remarkable that these have not moved at all. Maybe a testament to Van Richmond for his good foundation building skills, that these have not gone anywhere. But it's kind of a neat side to come over to. Not a lot of people come over here because it's out of the way. You have to either walk or drive back in from the Route 31. And this is an area where a lot of people like to come over and hunt and fish and ATV. And I don't know how much they appreciate canal hunters, but you just want to be respectful and give them space. This is all state land, so you're not trespassing. Like I say, remarkably intact. And usually dry too. So if you do want to come under here and walk around, the other side on the Montezuma Heritage Park side, it's it can be wet underneath there, but over here it has filled in over the years, and it's remarkably accessible. Looking down there towards the throughway and the wildlife refuge lands. The river used to go that way. That used to be the channel of the Seneca River back in the first and second Erie Canal times. And when they built the barge canal, they moved the entire Seneca River over to the west about a half mile to accommodate the building of Cuga Seneca Lock 1 and just to straighten things out. And part of the dredging project, so they filled that in. So that's the remains of that. And if we look over, and on the other side is the Montezuma Heritage Park sides. You look right down, you can see the aqueduct remains from the Heritage Park side. Get another shot of that here in a second. When they took this aqueduct apart in the winter of the winter of 17 and the spring of 1918, they had a small little railroad donkey engine that they built, a few tip cars, and they built out from this side, and they started taking apart from the other side, and just picking it apart, arch by arch. They pulled up the wooden trunk, the oak that was in the wooden trunk, and they burned that in the steam engines. That was an easy way to dispose of that. And they tipped the stone over here on this side. I'll show you that in a little bit. And by the winter or spring of 1918, the canal was open. They dredged out the foundations that were in the wooden foundations that was in the bottom of the river. Took all that out and opened up the barge canal. And if you look, you can see from this side really how much that last power line pole there, the whatever I call it, the tower, is really tipping that foundation there, the pier that they bolted it to. It's been there forever, it seems like, and we've asked the power line people to take it off, not to ruin that anymore, but they've so far ignored us and are pleased to save what we can of the aqueduct there. But pretty cool sight to come to. When you're walking or driving in here, you drive down this gravel road, the parking spot over there on the other side of the canal. You'll notice all this stonework, and this is the aqueduct. All they did was bring it over here and dump it. And they, at the time, had very little sentimental value to them, I guess. And nobody wanted the stone. Or so far out here in the country that probably wasn't worth taking. So you see it all there and overgrown in the banks. And it's also over here. Depends on what time of year you come down here, if you'll see it or not. Because you know, it gets wildly overgrown. I'm down here in November. So you can see it. Just all there in a tumble. Yeah, just came over with the little tip cars and dumped it off there. And we're going to walk down and see if we can find any remains of the towpath bridge from the first canal here. I've walked a little bit north along the river, and you'll see this wet area here. This is the old, or the first canal. When they built the first canal through here, all they really did was dig a half-mile long cut through Kipps Island, basically connecting the Seneca River to the Clyde River, which was on the west side of Kipps Island. And they just scooped it out and piled up banks. Wasn't a lot of construction to it. You know, this is supposedly where all the people died digging through the muck, and you know, it's of course not true. Never found anybody, never found bodies, never found any record of all these thousands of people who supposedly died. But you can see it's quite a wide cut through here. Goes from the Seneca River. Now it has this access road going through it, but it's on the other side there. Yeah, and this would all have been swampland. You know, it's hard to see it now because of the trees and everything, but when this was first, you know, came upon by man, this was all swamps or marshes, I guess is the correct word for it. You know, it's dried out over the years because of the lowering of the river by the barge canal and all the attempts to drain the marshes over the years. So the ecology has really changed down in here, but this is the towpath, and we're going to make our way down to the river and see if we can find any remains, any posts. So we're making our way to the river here. One of the things you should note is, you know, here's the elevation of the old canal, and there's the river. So it wouldn't take much for that river to come up to flood this land, and I'm sure it often does flood in the spring. Showing you that, you know, the canal is basically part of the river in this slackwater crossing here. And if we're to point our way straight across there, we're pretty much looking at the route of the slackwater crossing, and then the replacement aqueduct. Let's head up here. So, still looking for any remains of the towpath bridge. Now we know that green marker over there, and you can just to the left of that, you can see some of the post. And if I can zoom in here, you can almost, that clearing there where the guys from the Heritage Park have cleaned out that little beachfront there, and you can see the post. See the green marker, then the little beach, and then there's posts sitting there, or sticking up out of the water. And that's heading over this way. But I don't see anything on this side. Now we are on the channel side. The other side of the river, the reason that the remains of the aqueduct are still there is because they didn't channelize the whole river. All they did was channelize a couple 100 feet on this side. So they've got it cleaned out, and that side is pretty shallow. This side is cleaned out to 12 feet. You can see the tipping of the tower there. But I don't see any posts over here, so they're probably all dredged out. Pulled out when they removed everything. So start working our way back. So we made our way up to trying to get up on the towpath here. It's so overgrown. But a few years back, Bill Hetch found a photo of a man and woman fishing, and there's also other photos of women down here picnicking on the rocks. And this is where all those are taken from. It's kind of interesting that a lot of the rocks they were sitting on are gone now. I don't know why that would have happened. So we made our way over to towpath side. It's so overgrown. Over the years, the people have pushed the capstones off here. May have been the contractor removing them. I mean, they're down there. So likely people are up here playing around. There's a little trail. Get you to the very end. And if you could see through the trees over there. That's a tour of the aqueduct, Seneca River Aqueduct from the Seneca County side. Hope you enjoyed it.